All right, welcome to Making the Most of LinkedIn. My name is Chris Wildermuth, and I'm going to start just by sharing a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Rio de Janeiro, but I immigrated to the United States a long time ago. I've been here for probably about 28 years. This is my family, everything to me, my husband Mel, my daughter Maggie. We're huge Disney fans, as you can imagine from this picture. We have pictures of Maggie all the way from when she was 4 years old or all the way to 18, 19. Now she's 23 and a grad student at Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. And needless to say, I'm very proud of her. So when I run this session face to face, I usually ask people to share their superpower. And just because that's a fun thing to do in the beginning, and I'm going to share my own, I'm going to ask you what's yours. So perhaps pause the tape and ask yourself, what's your superpower? And what I mean by superpower doesn't have to be anything super serious. It could be something simple like, I make the best pancakes on this side of the Atlantic, or I am amazing organizing closets. In fact, if you are, I would love to have you over. Or, I don't know, I'm really good painting houses. It could be anything, really. But what is it that you love to do and you're really good at? So pause the tape and answer that question. And then I'll share mine. My superpower is technology, especially free technologies. I am capable of finding any free technology online that you can imagine, and I'm particularly interested in educational technologies or technologies that help us connect better to each other. So, for example, with the work that I do on LinkedIn right now, we're looking for a virtual world in which we can all communicate outside of the LinkedIn platform. This picture was taken of me, or my avatar. I was teaching a class on global leadership to my students, and we had people from various countries in the world. I remember we had somebody from Australia, somebody from Ireland, somebody from Hong Kong, someone from Portugal, and we were in various tables, and all of us had our own avatars, and my students loved it because they got to talk to people from all over the world that way. So today we're specifically going to talk to you about LinkedIn, and I probably should have started by saying that I started managing groups on LinkedIn about 10 years ago, and I manage a very large group on LinkedIn called LinkedHR, which I think we've just passed 1 million members, so it's a pretty big endeavor. So I'm going to start by asking you how you use LinkedIn. So pause the tape, take some notes, and come back. Okay, so here's the roadmap for this very brief presentation. First, we're going to talk about 2 common mistakes, then 2 best practices, and then I'm going to ask you to help solve 2 unsolved problems for people who manage groups such as I do. All right, so let's start by 2 mistakes. The first one is use LinkedIn as a glorified address book. So the way it works is people create their profile, which, by the way, they don't update very often. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But they have their profile, and their friends have their profiles. And then if their friends or colleagues or whoever moves on to another state or another job, you can always be in touch with that person. Now, don't get me wrong. That's actually a useful feature of LinkedIn. But if that's all you're doing, you're missing on a lot. So, lesson 1. Don't use it only as a glorified address book. There's more to LinkedIn than that. The second mistake is to focus on quantity rather than quality. So the way that this works is people find, for example, one article that they really liked on the Forbes magazine or somewhere online, and then they send the same article to like 25 groups, and they put it all over everywhere, and they keep sending it to every person who ever breathed close to them. That doesn't work. In LinkedIn, just like in life, just like anywhere else, you want to start small and build from there. It's not terribly useful to have a huge number of followers if they're just a number. They don't match your clientele. They're not in your field. They are not going to really network with you. It's just that you can tell people that you have 10,000 people who are following you, but they're totally irrelevant. Okay, so focus on quality of your connections rather than quantity. Now, before we move on, can you think of any other mistakes that people make on LinkedIn? For example, is there anything that somebody has done on LinkedIn that really drove you crazy? Take note of that and then we'll move on. And by the way, if you don't have a lot of experience with LinkedIn, it's totally fine for you to think about some other social media that you have worked on. All right, now let's go for the best practices. The first one, I kind of hinted at it when people use LinkedIn as a glorified address book and then they never update it. If you're going to use it as a glorified address book, at least update your page. Sometimes people don't put their pictures. Sometimes they put their pictures from 2,000 years ago. Like, this is me when I was 18. I can assure you, well, I don't think I need to assure you, you can actually see what I look like now. So it would be kind of silly for me to have that picture over there. Update your page, update your picture, update your jobs, update your skills. Keep your page up to date. The second best practice is, I often say to people, the action on LinkedIn is in the groups, not on the postings, not on the followers. That's where you can actually talk to people, message people without having to pay for special sales accounts. That's where you build connections, because otherwise on LinkedIn, it's super hard to build connections. You can only message people that you know, and people could accuse you of spamming. But if you are in a group, you can start having conversations with like-minded people. So in other words, find your people. Where are your people? And to find your people, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to press escape and go to my, oops, what did I do here? Okay, so I'm going to go to my LinkedIn page over here, and I'm just going to search for something. So let's say that I am looking for fellow professors with whom I can network. Notice that I tried to do this before. When I just put professors leadership, I didn't get much. I kept having to look for different keywords to find exactly where my crowd was. And I was specifically looking for educational technology or technologies in the classroom or so on. And I had to keep trying. So let me try here, technology in education. By the way, the LinkedIn search engine is not the best. You have to be pretty precise about it. Then I'm going to click here on groups because I only want the groups. And here they are. There are bunches of groups. One thing that I wanted to tell you in terms of LinkedIn groups is that there's power in numbers. Very often when you join a group that is very small, precious nothing happens in those groups. The magic number, believe it or not, tends to be about 100,000 people. Anything much lower than that, usually the group is a little dead. That may surprise you, but of course there could be exceptions to the rule. There could be a fairly small but very active alumni group from a particular institution, or a group that is created to keep people connected in a particular unit or office or program or so on. But in general, if you're just joining some random group, look for the sizes. So technology and education is not really calling my name because it's too small. So about COVID and professors, let me see if I can find something. And no, there's Professor Forum for Virtual Teaching. So what if I enter virtual teaching in here? Okay, see, these are way too small. This one is working online, and yeah, all these groups are way too small. So I would say, keep looking for, let me try one more thing, educational technology. And then I'll put professors. Let me see if I can find anything. Nope. What if I remove professors? Still not finding a lot. Okay, how about if I put professors, academia? And it is a trial and error method, as you can clearly see here. Okay, now I found one that has 30,000 members and it's Professor Expert. Okay, so then I'm just going to go around and see what kinds of messages there are and how far away, how long ago they were posted, and if there's a lot of spam in here or if there are actually discussions among professors. Sometimes it takes me a while to find a group that I really like, and because I want to go for quality and not quantity. Now, I belong to multiple groups because I manage them. But if you're looking for a group where you can connect and make connections, find friends, find your people, then you should focus. You take some time to look. So this is the group that I manage. Again, it's called Linked HR. It's for HR professionals. There's another group that I manage. It's called the Leader Campus, Industrial Organizational Psychology, OD, faculty, and researchers. So these are just groups that I manage, and feel free. You can always build your own group, and it's kind of fun to see it grow and to come up with events to energize the group. Okay, so let me make this big again. Cool. All right. Now, let's talk about some unsolved problems, and that's where I need your help. The first is that if, let's say that you start managing a group or you create a group to market your services or to discuss with like-minded people, it becomes spam city very fast. If you don't work on the settings right to prevent people from just posting stuff without your moderation, very quickly it becomes a smorgasbord of advertisements, irrelevant postings, and job searches and job offers. So that's one problem that managers often find in groups, and frankly, if you are a member of the group, that would be an issue for you too. The second problem is monetization. And when I mean monetization, I mean it in two ways. Way number one is if you created a group, just a group on anything, and you want to monetize it, you want to make money out of the work that you're doing out of the group, good luck. You want to make money out of managing the group, good luck to you. Please tell me your secret. It's incredibly difficult to do. Because the people who join those groups, they don't necessarily join the groups to buy anything. They join the groups to make connections. So it can be really difficult for you to sell anything in there. The other issue in terms of monetization is, let's say that you're not trying to sell anything directly, but you want to be able to convert that work into sales for your business, for your services, organization, for whatever. So how would you solve those problems? The first is spam city, and the second is monetization. So I'll let you think about that for a moment, and then I'll come back. Oops. Why did that? I don't know why it keeps ignoring that one. Stay. All right. In terms of spam city, fortunately, there are settings on LinkedIn's groups that allow you to put everything on moderation, which is exactly what I would recommend. If you start a group, start right, put the rules correctly, make sure that your rules are clear, and don't allow anybody to post anything without your checking. Because believe me, they will post stuff that will embarrass you, and unless you're 24/7 looking at your group, they could be embarrassing for your business, for your brand, for yourself. So there is a setting in which you prevent anything from being posted without your moderation, and that's exactly what you do. In terms of monetization, I would say in terms of monetizing the groups themselves, I haven't found a solution to that. I suppose you could get sponsors, but it is it is so difficult to monetize LinkedIn groups that I'm honestly not sure that sponsorships is a viable option. I suppose it could be done. Um, in terms of conversion, I think it's good for you to think of LinkedIn in terms of raising awareness of your brand and building credibility on your brand, your personal brand, or the brand of the services that you're trying to market, and not necessarily convert that group into sales. It's a more complicated process. So perhaps you have the group, and then from the group you create some events, which is another thing that you can do on LinkedIn that works really well. From those events, you can get emails, email addresses, and so on. From those email addresses, you can probably follow up and then eventually convert to sales. But it's a very long process. It's a get rich slowly scheme. So if you're creating a group because you want to make money out of the group directly, it's probably not going to work. If you're creating the group because you want to raise awareness on your brand or on yourself or build credibility, then it's probably a good thing to do. I'm curious as to what you guys came up with. I'm sorry I'm not there to hear it, but it's a good topic of discussion for you to have with one another and with your friends. Okay? So basically, that's all I had time to do today. Thank you so much. If you want to get in touch with me, please contact me at chris@theleadercampus.com, or my website is either leadercampus.com or professorwildermuth.com is my academic website. Thank you, everyone, and I hope this presentation is useful to you. Take care.